Mark, I think we're gonna get started. We've got I think a critical mass of attendees here. So first, let me introduce myself. Hi everyone, my name is Alex Portera. I'm a fundraising partner with Emission Free Generators. Really excited to be here today with Mark Collins, who is the CEO and founder of EFG. He's also the inventor of the technology. So I'll let him take it off in a moment. I just want to kind of walk you through what we're going to be doing during this webinar. To start, Mark is going to walk through a presentation. It'll be about 10 minutes long about the company, the technology, and where things are going. Really very exciting stuff. If you're here, I think you already know how exciting what Mark and his team are doing is. After that, we're going to do a Q&A. And so the way that this will work is if you have any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat at any time. Mark and myself can see them. I'll be moderating. And once we get to the Q&A, we will get to all of your questions, which again, won't be too far off. The presentation's about 10 minutes or so. And we'll go for as long as we need to and answer as many questions as we can within kind of the guidelines of what we can and cannot talk about for this Reg CF and for the company. But I think you're going to learn a lot today. Very excited. As a reminder, we are raising right now on Wefunder, wefunder.com/emission-free generators. Not emissions-free generators, emission-free generators. I sometimes get that mixed up. So make sure you grab that. We're raising now. The raise has been going, wonderfully so far, and we're really excited to continue it so that we can get the capital to do lots of incredible things that Mark's going to talk about now. So Mark, without further ado, please take it away.
Lovely. Thank you very much. And yeah, hello to everyone. Thank you very much for joining. I really appreciate giving you time up to see what we're doing and explore maybe a little bit more. I see that we've got some good friends on there, colleagues, and of course, wonderful investors. So thanks very much. And Alex, you're going to be driving the slides. So I'm going to just run through our slide deck reasonably quickly. Now, many of you would have seen this previously anyway, but there's a few little nuances involved, and I'm just going to talk it through, so not too much. Next slide, please. So today I'm talking to you about our portable generator. This runs on our powder, which is in a cartridge. It creates hydrogen on demand, which is then converted into electricity. Next slide, please. So why now? Why now for a new portable generator and a new power source? Well, grid blackouts are normal practice throughout the whole of the USA because of the aging infrastructure, increasing demand for EV and AI, which places even more stress on the poor old grid, and poor climatic conditions, which create deadly storms, making blackouts more frequent and longer in duration. If you combine this with the enormous increase in recreational activity growth and the need for people wanting to stay connected and wanting to take their electronics and luxuries off grid when they go away, and the problem is enormous and continually increasing. And when the grid is unavailable, 80% of Americans, 80% are left in the dark because they do not have any form of backup or portable backup power. Next slide, please. Okay. The reason why there is only 20% of Americans that have backup is because the products on the market miss major consumer demands and needs. There's the fossil fuel generator, liquid fuels, with all of its associated problems and CO2. We have batteries, short-term single hit of power, and then we have solar with intermittent operation and storage requirements. All good products, but have certain levels of limitations which interrupt a level of certainty which many people need when the power's gone out. 127 million Americans are unable to operate any of these products because they live in apartments. They don't have outdoor space, or they're physically unable to move all the liquid fuels and solar panels and cables and bits and pieces or heavy batteries around. Next slide, please. So we designed and built a solution that meets the needs of all consumers. The EFG is a standalone power system which will work anywhere on our planet at any time of the day or night in good and bad weather. EFG is a continuous power generator with all the convenience of a fossil gas generator without the noise, smell, or carbon emissions. It's small, compact, and silent, and doesn't require heavy liquid fuel canisters to decant, no panels to set up outside, and no waiting around to recharge batteries. Next slide, please. And to power the EFG, we use our own proprietary powdered fuel placed inside a cartridge. When you insert the cartridge, and this is as easy as putting a battery into a flashlight, and just as instant. By inserting the cartridge, we then create a level of hydrogen. I'm going to go into that in a minute. There's enough potential energy in one of our cartridges to power your refrigerator, laptop, lights, television, CPAP, oxygen generator. And this is even safe enough to be sent in the mail. Next slide, please. EFG is controlled by our proprietary AI-focused software. Now that senses an electrical demand from your device and instantly creates a tiny amount of hydrogen, green hydrogen. And this passes through a proton exchange membrane, also called a PEM, to be immediately consumed in the creation of electricity. This cycle repeats itself over and over and over every few seconds, providing a continuous stream of electricity. And because we only create tiny amounts of hydrogen to meet the demand of the device that's plugged in, there's no storage. There's no high pressure, there's no temperature, there's no wastage, no noise, and of course, no emissions. Next slide, please. Now, this slide gives you a rough idea of how long one of our cartridges will run in the EFG. And as you can see, you can plug individual items into this, or you can plug a combination, or all of them, all at the same time. It's very flexible. Next slide, please. We have 4 patent applications, which are very close to being granted. That covers all aspects of our technology: the fuel, hardware, software, hydrogen delivery methods, and we cover military goods as well as consumer goods. And next slide, please. Now, the EFG is real. It's fully functioning, and we've been running this for over 10,000 hours. We've been tried and tested by the US Army, validated by independent experts, and recognized with investments and awards from major organizations. Next slide, please. So this gives a rough idea of the solid traction that we have within our company. And these are just some of the milestones just during the last couple of years. Next slide. Thank you. The global market for the portable generator is 7.8 billion, with an incredibly healthy growth, a large CAGR, with which this shows the amount of demand of the trend that there is on a worldwide basis. So it's not just in the US, which suffers from power outages. The rest of the world is following this level of trend, which is good news for our company. Next slide. Popped up. Okay. To reach our customer, we have our first to market EFG, as you can see under product. This is $2,150, which is one revenue stream, and our cartridges at $6.45, which is the second revenue stream. The type of people that will buy it, well, people that are going to need home backup. They will use it for recreation and for emergency. And our routes to market and communication are with D2C, direct to consumer, as well as B2B2C. And some of our brick and mortar customers will be like people like Home Depot. Next slide. Now, we have a really strong and great team and board of directors and advisors. I've been inventing consumer products and business products for over 30 years. Tom, our CMO, was head of global marketing for Nestle. This is somebody that knows how to sell products and push it out into an enormous marketplace. It's Tom. Chase was the creator and technical lead for our 3-year R&D project with the military. And Chase has been involved in creating hydrogen fuels for the last 10 years. Andrew was previously CFO for Toyota, meaning that investors' money are in a very safe pair of hands, of course. And Paul, our chairman, has been a founder and an executive in Fortune 500 companies and comes with a wealth of knowledge for us, for all the way from startup organizations all the way up to that Fortune 500. Next slide, please. Our advisors are all excellent levels of knowledge. They are renowned individual experts in their own field. And they've all been involved in EFG for over the last 3 years. I have had the pleasure of working with all of these people for many, many years. And they have come into EFG and given us a wealth of knowledge behind and giving it that knowledge base to our board, which has been fabulous. Last slide, I think, virtually. And this is where we are now. We're testing our MVP-S, which is a variation of a minimal viable product. That is followed, and we're doing that testing right at the moment. That's followed by an updated MVP, which is called the MVP-A. That will have consumer trials at the end of the summer, sort of going into October. Then we have more consumer testing with a pre-production model, which comes out around Christmas time and beginning of next year. And then we go into production and we go into revenue. As a startup, very exciting time to get to revenue. That will be in Q1 of 2026. And this will be our first entry into the market with our 1.6 kilowatt unit. During the rest of 26, we will then produce 3,750 units. And then our major ramp up really continues through into 27, when we will be doing 15,000 units during that year. And of course, not just units, but also our cartridges. And that is it. Next slide is the final one. Thank you, Alex.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mark. That was great. And we've got some comments coming in, questions coming in already. So I will be getting to those. Feel free, as you have questions, to continue to drop them in. Mark, I think the first question we have is about the grant from SoCalGas and working with the Army. So can you talk about this $280,000 grant from SoCalGas? What's the story behind that? What were they interested in? What does the support from these two organizations mean?
Yeah, sure. We were very fortunate to have been given a non-dilutive investment of 280,000 from SoCalGas. And this is mainly due to the really strong alignment between our technology and SoCalGas's objectives around clean energy and their infrastructure efficiency. Now, SoCalGas are a major gas supplier. They have 22 million customers, but they have an R&D department, so a research and development department, which really specializes in looking for clean energy, better methods of providing energy and support to taxpayers and ratepayers. That's their job, and they saw our product and were very interested in taking it forward for their at-risk customers. Now, by at-risk, these are people that can't get out very much. They live in apartments, many of them, or different levels of homes, and they need a level of certainty with their electricity. This is because they have medical devices or they require constant communication. They can't leave electricity to chance. Now, in the past, what's happened with SoCalGas is and utility companies in general is they have sent out engineers, and the engineers have put in UPS systems into the customers' properties. And then they've had to go back and check on those UPS systems, UPS being uninterrupted power supply. They've had to hardwire in the service. And it's quite a major event. And with people moving around so much and changing properties, it's a very expensive event for the taxpayer. With the EFG, our EFG can be sent in the mail to that at-risk person. They can plug it in themselves or get a friend to plug it in, and their device is then working on a full UPS system, the same as their normal UPS via the electricians. Now, when we go to the Army had three particular criteria that nobody else could meet, which was really good news for us because we met them all. Their specification was no liquid fuels. It must be capable, the generator must be capable of 24/7 operation. It couldn't have a heat signature. You don't want to be seen if you're in the Army. It can't have any noise, and it had to operate indoors. And there were many, many, many organizations which went along with that specification for a 72-hour mission in particular. I'm pleased to say that the only product that was actually able to meet all of those criteria was the EFG.
Awesome. We've got two questions from Carl, kind of related, very specific to the products. One, is there a special type of water that's needed to actually operate the EFG and the cartridges?
I'm sorry, what was that? Sorry?
Is there a special type of water that's needed to actually operate these cartridges?
No. Any type of water, really. I mean, the best thing is just tap water. That's the best bet. But because we made these for the US Army and military purposes, they can take a multitude of types of fluids. But it's best to try and just keep it straightforward tap water.
And then, is there any kind of maintenance that's required for these?
No, we designed this in mind to just be maintenance free. There is a filter for the water just in case you're out in the outback somewhere and you're just picking up water from a stream. And it works very similar to like an Nespresso machine or a Keurig. You take the water container out, give it a rinse through, knock out the contaminants in the filter, and then put it back in again. So very simple. That's about the only maintenance required.
Great. Another question we got is just people were curious about the team's background. So you have members from Nestle and Toyota. How does kind of that experience at those types of companies apply to a startup like EFG?
Yeah, Nestle and Toyota. Hey, it would be great if startups could have those sort of budgets that those large organizations have. But the benefit to EFG by having two of our directors and key members of our team involved in Nestle and Toyota experience teaches us how to design for scale. It ensures quality and it really make sure that we meet the customer needs. That knowledge base going into startups and small companies, and I've run startups and small companies since I left college. I've done nothing else. I've only ever generated my own income by starting businesses and inventing and selling companies through to exit. But having that knowledge of those big company players involved has really made a significant difference. And by bringing our team through with that discipline in effect, combining the big brand standards with startup agility, just means that we are being able to provide a really good product and delivery to the consumer. We're consumer orientated.
Great. Another question, can this be used in a closed environment with its emissions?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It can be used indoors. Now, there are there are limitations to the amount of hydrogen that goes into a closed space. But one of the good things about hydrogen is that when it's in a space into the environment, just goes into atmosphere, it disappears quite quickly. But if you are in a hermetically sealed room, let's call it, and it's quite a tight room, then you do have to be quite cautious of the amount of hydrogen that goes just into that small space. We regulate all of that within our software, so that we never breach any of those safe working limits. So yeah, this is a very safe unit to operate indoors.
Great. We've got question from Chris. Straightforward on the investment. What's the funding goal here?
So our funding goal is 300,000, and if we can reach that or go past that with Wefunder, that'll be great. And what we're doing with that money is actually the MVP-A. So as I said, we're working on our MVP-S right now, and the MVP-A will be ready for end of October time, and that's what this money is doing. And in particular, it's doing the cartridge housing. So this amount of money makes sure that when the cartridge goes in, the housing that it's going into fulfills all of the UL certification for consumer use.
Great. We had a few questions around like how is the product actually going to be produced? Who's going to be manufacturing it?
Yeah, we won't be manufacturing it. We have a contract manufacturer, two of them. Well, two and a half, I should say. So we have one in San Diego, one in Washington, in location in Spokane. Never quite sure how to pronounce that. Originally coming from England,
Okay.
and one in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Okay. So contract manufacturers in Spokane, which is correct, and Pennsylvania. Okay, great. Um, can you talk about the teams, so the leadership team's exits and patents? How does that kind of apply to what you're doing here? How does it help you actually build and sell the software?
Yeah, yeah, that's a sort of a multi-covered question. But yeah, our past exits show that we know how to build companies in effect, so that we can build companies that make us attractive for investment going down the line, and it opens up that potential for trade sales, which is an exit for a potential exit for EFG. So by having a number of exits involved in our team, then that's always good news for a company because you know that we're looking at an end game. We're not just running this as a sort of an income stream. This is an end game in mind. And the fact that we have so many patent holders in our team, I've got 28 patents. In fact, some of them have been running so long they've actually expired now. But hardware is really challenging to build. So you need to know when you set out on a piece of hardware, you need to know that you've got a really solid patent base, and it's feasible to be able to build something, and then protecting the IP as you go along, as you build it, you change things, and then you add more IP, intellectual property to the company, and that builds up its value. And that's what we're doing within the company. We're building the value of EFG up. We're making sure it can get to a very, very valuable company, in addition to bringing out a very important product, and bringing hydrogen into the home.
Great. We've got some more questions about the product itself. Um, so one of those products is what's the process to refill the cartridge? Is it fairly easy? Will I go to one place or will you have several places set up in each state? Um,
That's a good question. Yeah, the cartridge is actually returned to us. So when you buy a cartridge, or when it's if you buy it from Amazon, for instance, or via a Home Depot, that type of store, then it comes with a returned envelope. So you put the cartridge in the unit, it's all used up. It's just like using a battery. It goes in and you can take it out and put it in and take it out. The system knows how much energy it's using. But when it's all used up, you get a notification on the panel on the front of the screen, as well as on an app, and it says cartridge is now all used. Put it in on the envelope, it comes back to us. Now, then what we do with that is then we reuse the cartridge. So we're not recycling it at this point. We're reusing the whole cartridge. We empty out any excess fuel, and that is used for another purpose. So nothing is wasted. We then mildly clean the cartridge with air. We don't have to actually use any water or anything like that. We refill it, and then it goes back into the circular economy. And with this type of cartridge, we can use it upwards to 50 times. So this is a much more eco-friendly way of you reusing existing things. We designed it with that in mind.
And Michael asks, related to this, how do you know how much power is left? Is there a notification system that needs to be replaced? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, good question. So there is a dial, there is a screen on the EFG, and that tells you how many hours left of runtime you have. Now, what happens is, let's say you plug a refrigerator in. Our system identifies the refrigerator's power curve, and it converts that into electricity, and then we make converts that into hydrogen, and then we make electricity from that. Well, by working out how much hydrogen is used and how much hydrogen is left in the cartridge, our system can tell you how many hours of runtime to power that refrigerator is. And it sends you that information to an app, which you can have on your phone. And as you get closer to the end of that duration, you get a notification and you see it on the screen. It says 15 minutes worth of runtime left. You should consider changing the cartridge. When you get to the end of the cartridge, you do have a certain amount of time, about 5 minutes, to take the old cartridge out and put a new cartridge in, and you still have power in the system powering your refrigerator. So if you happen to be watching a really good program on television, for instance, and you don't want to miss anything, you won't. This system doesn't just stop. It gives you alerts to say, fill me up again, and then off it goes. No downtime.
Great. And we got just a note from Chris. The challenge with hydrogen is the volatility in transport. This powder allows for ease of transport. So product looks very interesting. And Chris also had a question, which is, can you talk at all about how you plan to distribute to the market? Is there room for strategic partners?
Yes, there is room for strategic partners. So yeah, another good question. So our cartridges, yes, by making hydrogen into a powdered form makes it incredibly safe. There are regulations in what you can send in the mail with USPS and all the federal requirements for that. We meet those standards. In fact, we can send quite substantial quantities of our product in the mail. Now, for strategic partnerships involved in cartridge distribution, absolutely, but also for alternative horizontal markets and vertical markets for the company and the power system that we've developed, then yes, we're open to those type of things.
Great. We got a question from Willie. Once you're selling international, do you think the refilling process for cartridges can be done in different countries?
Yes. Hello, Willie. Willie is actually one of our investors. So thank you, Willie. Yes, we are laser focused on getting to market for next year. That is our primary goal. As I said before, hardware products are hard work. You have to get them so right. They have to be hitting the market absolutely spot on. And so we are focused on making sure that that takes place. And then as we go into the second part of 2026, that's when we're widening our thought process into licensing for other countries with our technology. As it stands right at the moment, EFG is not looking to go out into major manufacturing into other countries ourselves, but we will certainly be looking at very, very strategic and specific partners for overseas use.
Great. Now we've got some questions, kind of. Well, one person asked, Chris asked, how many hours does the generator run? Michael's asking, can you speak to the different use cases and any potential variation in SKUs, different sizes? Is this kind of one size fits all? What's the vision there?
Yes, so the unit can run 24/7. You keep putting cartridges in, it will run 24/7. So just think of it like a flashlight. If you need a constant flashlight and a torch, you just keep putting batteries in it, and you keep getting that torch. And that's what this will do. It'll run 24/7, 365 days a year. Um, uh, I'm sorry, what was the second part of that question, Alex?
Um, Different use cases, any potential variation in SKUs, different sizes, etc.
Yes, so our first to market unit is 1.6 kilowatts. The reason why it's 1.6 is because that's one of the biggest growth markets in portable generators. Anywhere between 1.2, 1.3 kilowatts and about 2.2 is an enormous growth area. So we've chosen the bit right in the middle. But our technology has the ability to go down as low as about 80 watts, 80 to 100 watts, which is ideal for very long-term power supplies for maybe mobile phones, laptops, those type of things, especially going for hikes and out into off-grid activities. So we go from 80 watts and we can go all the way up to 15 kilowatts with this same level of technology.
Great. And we had someone, I don't know who, anonymous, asked, what can you power with the EFG? Can it be used outside? Uh, I'll just take this real quick, Mark, because I can share the slide that you shared, which I think does a great job of kind of helping you understand what the EFG can power and for how long. So yeah, if you have any kind of additional context here, Mark, but you know, you'll see a chest freezer for over 18 hours, CPAP over 18 hours, refrigerator 8 hours, TV 14 hours. So can power quite a lot for quite a long amount of time on just one single cartridge.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is a little bit of a misconception sometimes over wanting something to be bigger in kilowatts. There's not much in a house. Once you get to about 1.6 kilowatts, there's not much in a house which really, or a home, which requires more energy than that. Maybe if you're trying to run air conditioning and those sort of things, but for the general use, most people with their refrigerators and their coffee machines and microwave ovens, laptops, those type of things, main usage items, all fall below 1.6 kilowatts. So the way to think about this is that for every 100 watts worth of use of something, and to give you a rough idea, 75-inch television, for instance, is around about 100 watts. If you take that 1.6 and divide it by 100 watts, which is that gives you the number of hours. And you always add a little bit extra. We've downgraded some of our hours, but just so that we give people a really good, honest approach of what's going to happen. But really, you can expect these numbers to increase in practice.
Great. Let me see. Q&A. Alex Alex is asking, with the California generator ban coming, won't other companies jump into this market? What's the EFG's competitive advantage?
Yeah, it's good news for us, the Californian ban. This is a ban on purchasing of fossil fuel generators. And for portable generators, this is so it's actually below 5 horsepower. But we're not just reacting to a regulation. We've spent years designing and developing this proprietary product, and it's a purpose-built system that is clean and portable for scalability. So as the ban comes in and people can't buy those generators in this local area where I'm based, San Diego, we automatically step in because we don't have the emissions that those fossil fuel generators have. The only problem that they really have is that they give toxic emissions and noise and smell. But apart from that, they give continuous power. Well, we're the only other generator now that can give continuous power, regardless of whatever else is going on. And that's why we're going to be taking advantage of the ban coming through.
Also from Alex, who do you see as your first customers? Like, how do you actually get the start to get your foothold and start generating revenue?
Yes. California is our beachhead market because California has 24% of all blackouts throughout the whole of the United States. And so that's always a good place to start when you have a very high usability rate. Of course, it's got the new regulations coming in, which are banning them. That starts in 2028, banning the fossil fuel generators. But also, Californians are incredibly large or big on recreation and outdoor activities, boating. It's the largest user of RVs. And all of these are our key customers. So our first customers will be from each one of those areas, in effect. The very first sale, I'm glad to say actually that we do actually have quite a few pre-orders for our units, which takes care of our first production run entirely for Q1. But our very first customers are likely to be SoCalGas. Because they've been supporting us, we've been working with them, and they have specific requirements within their own organization, and they're likely to be our very first sale.
Some product questions. How heavy is the unit, and also what voltage? Is it 120, 240?
Yeah, it's so the weight is it's going to be below 27 pounds. That's what it is at the moment. I mean, in fact, I had a design discussion this morning where we're lowering one of the weights involved in the unit, but below 27 pounds, so still quite portable. Sorry, what was the second question, Max?
Voltage.
Voltage. Yeah, so 110, yes, with a USB and USB-C. And we will be bringing out a 240 version as well. It's not greatly used over here, but we are looking at going into an EV charger, small EV charger, which will give an extra range to EVs. And that will be at 240 and 360.
Great. Chris asked, can the unit work in conjunction with other types of technology for a mini microgrid, or is it designed to be standalone or replacement for those other technologies?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. It's a completely standalone unit. It doesn't need anything else to run. You can take this in the middle of a field and it will run purely as the EFG. However, there is good products out there. We wouldn't turn our backs on solar. Batteries are great, big deep cell batteries. All of those can be used to go in conjunction with our hydrogen fuel system. And I think, for the benefit of the climate and the world, you need to have a combination of all of these sources. Let's get rid of the fossil-based. It's a wonderful piece of machinery, but it's destroying our world. But bring the other units in, and let's make better products all around. But we don't need to.
Great. And two more questions from Chris. Just who do you see as your competition? And this actually, I think, ties to Alex's question here, which is a bit long, but essentially, it seems like you're kind of in your visions for projecting the potential here, the market size, that you actually may be like building on the existing market, expanding the market that's bigger than the existing one. So can you kind of talk about that competition, how you think about the market and expanding the market?
Yeah, sure. So the market, it's 7.8 billion. That's a good sized market. Now, the predominantly 80 odd percent of that market is the fossil fuel generator. Now, the only place you can use a fossil fuel generator is externally. This portable market, is externally. So you have a significant section again for the indoor market. But that's not included in the 7.8 because it's only really had fossil fuel generators out there. Batteries are coming in more and more. Solar panel generators are coming in more and more to give power to batteries. But they have limitations, as I said. The estimation is that you can almost double the size of the total addressable market for portable generators because now we're taking it indoors, and that's never been possible before.
Makes sense. Thank you. Okay, and then, well, our last question here, I may have one or two more, but are there what certifications will the product have for the go-to-market strategy from Chris?
Yeah, UL certified. This is that's the one that goes out into the consumer. It will also have a CE certification, which is the European certification for it. But in addition to that, there's a bunch of other things that aren't really necessary for a consumer product, but we actually will have those certifications for it. I was fortunate enough to be asked to write the first portable hydrogen generator standard for the USA with CSA, and I wrote that about 5-6 years ago, and so our units are already built, designed and built to make sure that we make the certifications on all other areas. That includes electronics, gas dispersion, gases, yeah, so many of them. So too many to mention.
Fantastic. Mark, that we just got through at least 22 questions there. So extremely lively discussion. Thank you everyone who has attended, who's dropped in your questions. I think this is probably a good moment to wrap up. Unless there's any last minute questions, I will remind you all that the raise is live on Wefunder right now. We're at about $230,000 with some things we have coming up. I think we're going to hit that 300 goal pretty soon. So really exciting, and we will keep raising beyond that, but depends on kind of what the company needs. So we'll see how it goes. But I think I dropped the link into the chat, so it's just wefunder.com/emission-free generators. If you have any questions, Mark, where should people reach out?
Yeah, you can go either via the questions via Wefunder, via LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, or you can contact me direct. My email is always available. I'm very happy to give that out, which is mcollins@emissionfreegenerators.com.
I'll type that in the chat. And I will say, if you do have questions, anything else, you can feel free to drop them in the Wefunder so that if other people have those questions, when Mark answers them, other people will benefit from seeing the answers as well, which is a great kind of feature of Wefunder. All right, everyone, thank you so much. Mark, thank you so much. And we'll be sending out the recording, sometime this week, so that if you missed anything, you want to review anything, you can hop back in. Thank you, everyone.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Alex. And thanks very much, everybody, to signing in. Really appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.